Hello everyone, and welcome back to VeriSite Research and Consulting Limited. In this presentation, we'll explore inferential statistics, the branch of statistics that allows us to draw conclusions about a larger population using data collected from a sample. We'll discuss the major types of inferential statistics, when to use each method, and how they help us make better decisions in research, business, healthcare, education, and many other fields. By the end of this presentation, you'll understand not only what inferential statistics is, but also how to select the right statistical method for different analytical situations. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll begin by understanding why inferential statistics matters. Next, we'll cover the core ideas used in interpretation, including statistical significance, practical significance, and effect size. We'll then examine estimation methods, hypothesis testing, group comparison techniques such as t-tests and ANOVA, nonparametric alternatives, regression and correlation methods, categorical data tests, and finally a practical framework for choosing the right method.
In real-world situations, collecting data from an entire population is often expensive, time-consuming, or impossible. Instead, we gather information from a sample and use inferential statistics to make informed conclusions about the larger population. There are three major reasons inferential statistics is important. First, it helps us estimate unknown population values. For example, we might survey 1,000 voters and estimate how an entire country's population intends to vote. Second, it allows us to test claims and determine whether observed differences are real or simply due to random variation. For instance, did a new marketing campaign actually increase sales? Third, inferential statistics helps us compare outcomes, identify patterns, and support future predictions. The ultimate goal is not certainty, but better decision-making under uncertainty. Before applying statistical methods, we need to understand how results should be interpreted. The first concept is statistical significance. A statistically significant result suggests that the observed outcome would be unlikely if there were truly no effect. However, significance alone does not tell us whether the effect is meaningful. That's where practical significance comes in. Practical significance asks whether the effect is large enough to matter in the real world. For example, a new treatment might improve patient recovery by only 1 hour. Even if statistically significant, that improvement may not be practically important. Finally, we consider effect size. Effect size measures the magnitude of an effect and helps us understand its real-world importance. The best practice is to use p-values, confidence intervals, and effect sizes together to make balanced decisions. One of the most common goals in inferential statistics is estimation. Estimation seeks to answer the question, how large is the effect, and how confident are we in that estimate? The simplest form is a point estimate. A point estimate provides a single best guess of a population parameter. For example, a sample may estimate the average customer satisfaction score as 4.2 out of 5. However, point estimates alone do not communicate uncertainty. That's why we use confidence intervals. A confidence interval provides a range of plausible values around the estimate. For example, an average delivery time may be estimated at 2.8 days, with a confidence interval ranging from 2.5 to 3.1 days. The interval communicates both the estimated value and the uncertainty surrounding it. As analysts, confidence intervals often provide more useful information than point estimates alone. Hypothesis testing is one of the most widely used inferential techniques. The process begins with two competing statements. The null hypothesis typically states that there is no effect, no difference, or no relationship. The alternative hypothesis represents the claim we are investigating. Next, we compare our sample data against the null hypothesis. We ask, if the null hypothesis were true, how unusual would these results be? If the results are highly unlikely under the null hypothesis, we obtain evidence against it. Finally, we make a decision. We either reject the null hypothesis or fail to reject it. Importantly, hypothesis testing tells us whether evidence exists for an effect. It does not tell us how large that effect is. That is why estimation and hypothesis testing often work together. When comparing group means, selecting the appropriate test is essential. An independent t-test is used when comparing two unrelated groups. For example, comparing exam scores between students taught using two different teaching methods. A paired t-test is used when observations are linked. Examples include before and after measurements or repeated observations on the same participants. ANOVA, which stands for analysis of variance, is used when comparing three or more groups. For instance, comparing customer satisfaction across multiple geographic regions. The key factors influencing your choice are the number of groups and whether observations are independent or paired. Parametric tests such as t-tests and ANOVA perform well when their assumptions are reasonably satisfied. These assumptions often include normality and independent observations. However, real-world data do not always meet these conditions. When assumptions fail, nonparametric methods become valuable alternatives. For two independent groups, we use the Mann-Whitney U test. For paired observations, we use the Wilcoxon signed rank test. For three or more groups, we use the Kruskal-Wallis test. These methods compare rankings rather than means and are especially useful for ordinal, skewed, or small sample data. Whenever assumptions are questionable, nonparametric tests can provide more reliable conclusions. Although related, correlation, regression, and predictive inference answer different questions. Correlation examines whether two variables move together and measures the strength and direction of that relationship. For example, we may investigate whether advertising expenditure and sales tend to increase together. However, correlation does not imply causation. Regression goes further by modeling relationships. It allows us to estimate how one or more predictor variables influence an outcome. For example, predicting sales using advertising spending, pricing, and promotions. Predictive inference focuses specifically on forecasting future outcomes and quantifying uncertainty. Rather than simply explaining relationships, predictive inference helps answer questions about what is likely to happen next. Not all data are numerical. Sometimes our variables are categories such as gender, product type, customer segment, or region. In these cases, we use categorical data tests. Chi-square tests help determine whether two categorical variables are associated. For example, is customer satisfaction related to geographic region? Proportion tests compare percentages or rates. Examples include conversion rates, purchase rates, or response rates across different groups. When sample sizes are very small, Fisher's exact test is often preferred because it provides more accurate results than chi-square approximations. Remember, identifying an association does not establish causation. Selecting the correct inferential method becomes easier when you follow a systematic process. Start by identifying the question. Are you trying to estimate, compare, associate, or predict? Next, determine the outcome type. Is your outcome numeric or categorical? Then count the number of groups. Two groups often suggest t-tests or proportion tests, while three or more groups may require ANOVA or related methods. Consider the study design. Are observations independent or paired? Evaluate assumptions such as normality, sample size, and data distribution. Finally, clarify your objective. Are you trying to explain relationships or forecast future outcomes? Following these 6 steps greatly improves the likelihood of selecting the correct statistical method. Many analytical mistakes occur before any calculations are performed. A common error is selecting a statistical test before understanding the research question and study design. Another mistake is confusing statistical significance with practical importance. Analysts must also verify assumptions and avoid interpreting correlation as proof of causation. As you conduct inferential analyses, remember these 3 principles. First, start with the question and data structure. Second, check assumptions before trusting results. Third, combine statistical evidence, effect size, uncertainty, and real-world context when drawing conclusions. Good statistical practice leads to better decisions. Thank you for joining this presentation on inferential statistics and the main methods used in data analysis. Remember, the best statistical method depends on the question being asked, the structure of the data, and the assumptions underlying the analysis. When used appropriately, inferential statistics transform sample data into meaningful insights that support informed decision-making. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your questions and discussion.